wouldn't, I guess. Normally I don't do that. Normally I do. Other episode of Punk Rap, I got a little backtracked and I didn't have enough time to finish the painting that I was doing, so I am going to do that today. And I thought about showing y'all, but I honestly kind of just want to talk instead of I don't know, actually showing the painting. So I also it's fun to be able to interact with people, and I feel like if I'm just doing my hands, it's harder to do that, I guess, interact with people. So I'm doing this so that I can kind of interact if you guys are around, and yeah, that's kind of it. So I'm gonna be painting while I just kind of talk, I guess, about the world and everything. Yeah, that's what I have today. So let me get started on that. I'm always checking if this is going live. And what's so dumb is I do this every single time, and every single time I don't think about the fact that I know it's going to go live because I've done the same thing every time. So basically, what I was painting last time was my first trip to Snug Harbor, and I had paint on my palette, and then it dried up because so the thing before it, oh crap, I'm gonna have to go over. Actually, it looks kind of cool, whatever. The thing I had before it came through to the other side, which is pretty normal, but it came through onto the next page and this one, so I was like, okay, let me just paint some white on it, and it still, despite the white, came through on, do you see? So it's thankfully enough, this was going to be one that I was going to make really dark, so I'm still planning on doing that, again, thankfully. So I'll show you my sketch, because I didn't want to paint musicians for this, because I have a better idea for another one that I've been to, and I didn't feel like painting musicians this time around. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I have my colors, and I finally got a paper plate because I prepared this time. Wow, look at me. So with paper plate, I have my blue, and a lot of you are going to ask, oh, aren't you worried about getting painting on your clothes? No. My hands, yes. Since I was a child, I was always very clumsy and kind of I would get everything everywhere. I could not eat a meal without getting anything all over me, and it was always kind of a joke amongst my family that oh, MJ's so clumsy, they get everything everywhere. And as an adult though, I don't get everything everywhere. I really don't. I have gotten a lot more careful. I think art school kind of did that to me, that after using things for so long, you kind of realize how to handle them. It's really, I will get it places, but it's not as usual as it used to be when I was a kid. I would get things everywhere, and I hope some of you can kind of identify with that. I felt such a little jerk too. It sucked because when you're a kid and all of a sudden you get stuff on your outfit and you're in school, you can't just change. I was always this sucks. Now I look shit, you know? You can't change. As an adult, I have stuff at my workplace to change if I really need to. Let me know if you. And I wasn't messy. I was just clumsy, as kids do be. But I will get it all over my hands. I can tell you that for a fact. This white, I'm not flipping you off, I'm sorry. This white on my fingernails, that is from painting on Wednesday night. So what we're working with here to start is this white sheet of paper, but you can see where I outlined what I want when the paint was wet. So I thought I could do it in one night, and I realized I couldn't. But I'm putting paper down so that I can't get anything on the page below it. And this is my really shit sketch of what I want this to look like color-wise, because that's kind of important to get your colors set before you do it. So I have all my paintbrushes here. I have water, still from Wednesday, because why waste? And so, sorry, I'm looking at the camera, and I didn't realize how full of a ponytail I have, if you guys don't know me, I shaved my head almost 2 years ago at this point, and I've really just been waiting and waiting for it to grow back out, and I loved it. I loved having a shaved head, but the grow out process has been strugglesome, to say the very least. So it's hard, like when you get into those really awkward phases, and I've had awkward phases like every other month since I've been growing out my hair. Snug Harbor, New Orleans. And yeah, so if you weren't here last time, let me get a picture. I'm basing it off of this place. So it's very blue. I'm going to just start kind of with like, well, now that it's dry, I can draw on it. If I had a pencil. Oh, there we go. I want to look at the typeface. And I'll show you progressively while I'm drawing, like what this looks like. I'm not going to leave you in the dark. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. I'm going to show you it. So I have like the candle in the corner, and then I want to do Snug Harbor, because they have this like little plant projection that they put on it, and I think that's so neat. Actually, should we make this bigger? Can we go big or go home? No. Yeah, this is a good size. People are starting to like kind of go out of quarantine, especially in Long Island, because we're in phase 2. We're coming up on phase 3, and it is scaring the shit out of me. Please, for the love of God, if you are going outside, by all means, go and do, if you want to go to a restaurant and stuff, just take your precautions. Please wear your mask, like, when you're out, because it does decrease the spread of COVID, and I'm just so worried that New York is going to get another, like, what is the word I'm looking for? Oh my God. Like, spike, I guess, of COVID, and I'm really nervous about that, because I just want to go back to how things were, and people are not making that easier. I understand that people are getting antsy and that they really want to be going to and doing things, but like, it's kind of like when that kid in reset, like that kid in your like first grade class, the teacher's like, oh, you guys can have extra recess if like all of you are good today, and then that one kid is like an asshole and then none of you get recess. That's how I feel right now. I don't want like, if you want to go out to restaurants, God bless, like that's, I think, on you to like take that into your own hands, but I've been like driving past places on Long Island and people have just been like out like at bars and stuff, like with no mask, like right up against each other, and I'm like, you do not live with each other. I'll tell you that for a fact. And it's making me really nervous because I don't want another spike, because the more we stay inside, the more this can go back to normal as quickly as possible, and the more like we don't like wear out our healthcare workers and like our essential workers, and I'm like, damn, I'm so nervous, and I don't even know when like the time is that I'll feel comfortable kind of going out again. I think that's going to take a really long time, just because I'm not normally like a generally like paranoid person, but with this, like, obviously it was serious enough that the government basically shut down like for a while. Like, obviously this is serious enough to like give a shit about, and people just don't seem to be like taking it that way, and it's nerve-wracking to say the least. Like the whole time it's been happening. This is what the Snug Harbor thing looks like. So I'm going to outline where the candle's supposed to be, and I put like ridges in the paint, and that was super dumb, but maybe it'll look good and fun and textured now that it's like that. I don't know, it's probably dumb, but it's too late now. I realized it when it was like already not wet anymore, and I was like, nothing I can do about this. If y'all are out there, let me know how your days are going. It's hot out today. Nice Saturday day. Oh, I hate this color because it's just not as opaque as I would like. I thought somebody, when I was like a kid, told me that opaque meant translucent. And so for the longest time, like see-through is what translucent means. For anyone who doesn't know, translucent is when you can see through something, or transparent is when you can see through something, and opaque is when you cannot. And people mess that up all the time. I do the same thing. I thought opaque meant transparent for literally years. So, like, I'm not here to, like, shit on someone for not knowing that. But it took me until literally art school to know that wasn't the same thing. Oh, this is actually a fun technique. Maybe I should, like, do this, like, purposefully. See how the paint doesn't go into the cracks? Maybe that's a vibe. Maybe that's something I try out next time. Who's to say? I always kind of wanted to start with, like, a black background for this, but the thing is, like, if I do that, then, like, other colors aren't going to show up as well. So I don't know. But sometimes I do get paint on myself if I, like, accidentally, like, flick something, so I have to be really careful of that, because I'm wearing this out later. Me talking about people going out during COVID, yeah, no, I'm just going to a friend's house. And we do, like, social distance picnics, so we sit, like, 6 feet apart from each other, and we talk while eating our own respective sandwiches. It's nice. Did one last night. And that's the thing, like, there are so many ways. I feel like COVID has just made me a lot more creative with my ways to spend time with people, because, like, my mindset has always kind of been, like, oh, like, let's go out, or, like, I'm not, like a partier so much, but I do love, like, going out with people and, like, having experiences with them, and I think this has kind of changed my mindset to be, like, not every time that you hang out with a friend or a loved one has to be, like, a huge event. It can just kind of be, like, more casual than that, and I think that's something to take away from it. The other day at dinner, I asked my family, I was like, what's a takeaway that you learned about yourself from COVID? And thankfully enough, my entire family has been, very safe and very healthy throughout this. So we haven't had to worry about the repercussions of the actual illness. And so I was like, what's something that you guys have learned? And I forget what their answers were now that I'm thinking about it. I think my mother's was kind of along the lines of what I said right now, where I was like, it's given me, like, a new thought process on, like, how I see my friends and stuff, which I think is a good thing, especially, like, with, like, a generation that maybe doesn't, like, tend to lean on technology so heavily to, like, hang out with their people. I think it might be good for, like, some older generations to know that there are still ways to see each other, even if you're not right there. And even my generation, like, people, we hang out, I text people all the time, but I never call people. Hate it, can't stand it, don't like it, don't want to. God, I wish this paint were more pigmented. I need to think about that in the future. I just need to get rid of all of this, basically. Once I move past this, it's gonna be beautiful. But I think it's given a lot of light to, like, the fact that there are other ways to reach out to people, and I've reached out to people I've talked to my friends more during COVID than I did in the whole year post-college, because all of us were busy, and finally, like, this unfortunately gave us time to, like, sit down and, like, actually have time to, like, talk to each other, because, like, traveling to each other sometimes can be a little extensive, even though most of us were living either in Brooklyn or around Brooklyn. But it definitely is more of a journey to, like, go to see somebody than it is to just, like, sit in your own bed and, talk to your friends. So, let me know what takeaways you've had throughout COVID, because I've had that. I've also had the fact that, like, I think I just need to take better care of myself on a general level, because I'm not one to prioritize my own, like, eating schedule or sleeping schedule when I have work to do. I think that's, like, a product of being a slave to capitalism. No, it's a product of, like, my schooling a lot, because most of what I went to college for, like, all of us were working all the time, and if you weren't working all the time, it was like, what are you doing? And that can get very toxic after a while, if you couldn't imagine. So, like, taking time, I used to commute for 4 hours a day, 2 hours into the city, 2 hours back, because where I worked in Brooklyn was a little bit kind of more off the beaten path. And I think having those 4 hours, I also work, like, 3 other jobs, this being one of them, and besides my full-time job, and having a lot of business be like online now instead, as well as like the fact that I have 4 extra hours to not be on a packed subway every day. I do miss the like decompression time, because it is nice to just like have like 2 hours in the morning to yourself to just like get some extra sleep in, or kind of like chill before you like go to work. But it's definitely it takes a lot of time out of your day to like have to be on a transit for so long. So now I start work at 9:30 in the morning. I wake up at 9:28. Should I wake up earlier? Sure, but I'm not really a breakfast person, so whatever. Yeah, it's nuts. I should grab paper towel, but I never think to do that. Hold on, let me get a tissue. Do you like my outfit? I think it's cute. I got this shirt from a free thing at the end of college one year. We have like this thing where if you can't take things home, or if you don't want to, you just like put all the stuff you don't want and you can take whatever you want. It's called free and for flea. Free and for flea. You can just drop off stuff, or you can take stuff. You don't have to do both. It was great. It was so nice to be able to like kind of not just drop stuff that you had. Like you could just like give it to someone else. I have a lot of stuff from there. Let me paint. So I want the candle to be white. Oh, there's blue in that still. Ugh. And how is that white gonna cover that red? We'll find out after the break. Dun, 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 dun. I want this to look really moody, and unfortunately, with the opacity of my acrylics, that is not super possible. I feel like that red is gonna poke through again. Ugh. And all of you have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay. Let's paint the background. I want this to be moody. Very moody. I kind of want brown in this, but I guess I'm not going to do that. I want to make this... I should just start using like a bunch more paint to just like slap it on, so that, you know what? Okay, executive decision. Ooh, that made a really pretty color. I'm just going to slap a bunch of paint on and then do the white and yellow afterwards. That probably sounds like a better idea. But, do I paint the name now? Yeah, I do. But, ooh, yeah, it'll look textured. That'll be good. Do any of you paint? I forgot that I could paint until I started doing this show. Because I used to paint a lot in high school, and then I went to college and I stopped loving what I was doing. Isn't that the tale? I should have picked something that I hated to do, so that the thing that I love didn't become the thing that I make money for. Is that like dismal? Who's to say? Sardonic? I don't know. Masochistic. If I had like a job in finance, like maybe I'd hate my life, but at the same time, maybe I wouldn't hate art anymore. I don't hate it. That's why, and I've talked about the fact that why I do these sketchbook sessions. Because I just like, I talked a whole lot last time about the fact that I wanted to like commemorate all of the concerts I've been to, but a huge part of it is also the fact that I kind of lost touch with my love of art as opposed to like my business of art, because they're very different things. I love art still, but it definitely is a lot different when you have to make money off of it. And then like it feels like even your personal pieces, like every time I make something, I think to myself, oh, can I like use this in the future to like get a gig, like if someone saw this, would they be like, oh, that's great, let's hire this person? I think that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself and your craft, that everything has to be good. But the unfortunate part is, to get better, you just have to keep doing. You know what I mean? I kind of just realized only recently, and this is so dumb, but it's true, that I was always like, I don't have a style, I don't have a style, like I don't have a style, I'm so mad, I don't have a style. Guess what, bro? My style is like the way that I've been drawing. I just didn't like it. So I like finally had to be like, bro, you just have to embrace the fact that your style is what you're already doing. You just have to fall in love with it again. You have to fall in love with yourself and what you're doing again. Because that's important for your life, as well as like when you love the craft, people can tell when you are really in love with what you're doing. I think that, you know, seeing somebody's love for what they're doing really increases like how good it is. Because I think that like the more you love what you're doing, the more effort you put in, and the more like special it is to you. Because if you love something and you want it to do good, then you put effort into it. Do you know what I mean? So I think doing this has really made me kind of fall back in love with like painting, because there are no expectations. Sure, I'm with you guys and I'm with myself and I'm showing it off, and I do want these to be good. Like I do want to look at this and be proud, but not everyone is going to be good in my mind. Somebody might love one of these sheets and I might hate it. You know, who's to say? And not all my likenesses are dead on. I did one of Carrie Underwood and it looks like Shakira. Whatever. It's too late, man. And that's how you get better, is you keep doing it. And if you never keep doing, then you're never going to get better. And I've kind of realized that throughout my time now. I wish I had realized it sooner. But sometimes you don't want to see things, and you see them when you finally let yourself. I think I just always thought I was like bad in comparison to other people, but like people who I thought were quote unquote good were, yes, people who had innate talent, like in art school, but then I also really thought that people who were good were people who just produced and produced and produced and just kept making shit. I was like, wow, you're like a machine. And then the thing is, once they kept producing, they kept getting better and better. No kidding. There's my one friend Eric, he has like a very unconventional style of painting, and his teacher used to shit on him for it. And you know what? Rightfully so. He wasn't great when he started doing this kind of painting. And then he just spent like hours on end in studio painting and painting and painting and painting and painting and painting and painting. And like digital painting and non-digital painting and like all of it. And I was like, damn, this kid's a freaking beast. Like, he just keeps going for it. And he really did. He proved all of us wrong. Because I always thought he was, you know, good, but like he just didn't have the confidence in his work. Like I think is kind of necessary to have. And because he would shit on himself too. I mean, he still does. But that's just more of a him thing, not his art thing. But he just really put the pedal to the metal, and I was like, wow, you are really inspiring to me, because you really just don't care. Like you're just gonna keep making it in the style he was working in. He really loved doing, and I don't think everyone would love what he does, but he has a really, after working so hard for like a year, he also worked on himself too. I think like a big confidence boost of his was like him getting better at his art. And these are my favorite 3 paintbrushes. This one specifically has a little, it's like square. I love him. But, you know, because when all of a sudden you're like realizing that you appreciate your craft and that people are appreciating you for it, you're like, oh, and you get like a nice like confidence boost. So it's like a catch-22. You got to be confident enough to work on your own shit, and you also get like confidence boosts from like getting better and like having your peers acknowledge that, and yourself and your professors. I really genuinely cared more what my professors thought than my peers, Although I do think that they gave, good critiques and stuff. But I think, like, when you have, like, a seasoned professional giving you advice, that's invaluable. That's what I went to my school for. Because where the hell else would I get, I don't, not to flex, but the guy who painted the Hunger Games covers was one of my senior thesis professors. And he was a hard-ass dude. His name's Tim O'Brien. He's a badass. Look him up. He paints a lot of New York Times covers. A lot of the Trump ones are his. Not pro-Trump, but, like, pictures of Trump for New York Times. Because he can paint like a monster. All the stuff that he does is, like, hyper-realistic, but, like, it's things you couldn't get pictures of. So, like, there's, like, one of, like, Trump at his desk and, like, water is coming up. Dude, he's so good. The painting is, and then we got to, like, go to his studio. We got to go to his studio. Case in point, I will get paint on me, but just not on my clothes. If I keep saying that, it's gonna happen. I don't want that to happen. I shouldn't have gone around this. I should have just freaking painted this over. Oh well. But, having him give me advice on my thesis was, like, revolutionary. Like, where am I ever going to get this again? One of my teachers painted the cover for Carlos Santana's album Shaman. A baller. He's so good. And he's also got, like, a pretty wacky style. Not wacky, but, like, kind of more, like, I don't want to say cultural, but it is, like, kind of, like, where he comes from. It's very, like, he can do hyper realistic, but most of his stuff tends to be very, like Hispanic based, because he's also Hispanic. Where he's from, I cannot remember right now, and he would kill me if he was watching this. I'm sorry, Rudy. But he's, like, chill with Santana now. He's done some album covers for him since. He also does some work for some other, like, bigger name companies and stuff, and he's so cool. I miss that man so much. Oh my god. But, having that advice, having those people give you advice, like, obviously they know what they're talking about. They've been doing this for years, so I miss having that support system, unfortunately. The fun thing about painting is that a lot of the times you just have to come back to things because it's not going to look, you got to wait for it to dry for you to be able to actually do anything. So that's what I have to do right now, unfortunately. But where I'm going with this, so right now I've set, like, a layer down of just, like, colors. That actually looks pretty accurate to what the place looks like. So now I've set down some colors, and the next step, I have to stop doing that because it's going to get on the other side. The next step is going in again with some of the same colors after it's dried so that I can get a better opacity on this. And then after that, I'm going to go in and paint the letters and, like, the little leaves, and then eventually the shadow of the light from the candle on a bunch of stuff. So that's, like, the next step. But for right now, I think the thing that I can actually do without smudging anything probably would be the letters, which I think I'm going to do in pink. This little baby pink. You could not see that at all, I'm sorry. This baby pink. Baby pink. Yeah, that's nice. It's so sheer. Fuck. I gotta get me some better acrylics. Oh my god. Because, when you're in college, like, you have to be cheap. What other option do you have? Unless you're, like, rich. In which case, God bless. But, when you're paying for your own art supplies and shit, you're not trying to spend out the wazoo. But I should get some good acrylics, because it wasn't, like, a priority because I wasn't using them often enough. And now that I am, it's fun also to remember how my style translates to other mediums, because all I ever do is digital now, because I work for a company that needs to be able to mass produce the things that I make, so I can't, like, be painting every day. I could, but like a lot of alterations are necessary to be made a lot of the times. And also, I do design, I don't do illustration. But like graphic design. And you know, it's easier to change things on the computer than it is to change something on paper. So when you're doing, that's what always made me nervous about traditional illustration, and that's anything that isn't digital. So painting, drawing, pen, ink, other paint, watercolor, gouache, oil, colored pencil, charcoal, encaustic, literally anything is traditional medium. Charcoal, if I didn't say that already, I think I did. That's all traditional medium, and it's hard to go back and correct something. So you really got to get your sketches right. And you like changing colors like on an iPad or Photoshop is like so much easier to do. Like once it's already drawn, it's so much easier to do on a digital thing than it is to do on a physical thing, because you have to repaint it to mix the paint. A lot of the times it's not plausible for certain mediums to do that, and a lot of the times like clients don't really get that. Which is why if I do something for somebody, I really tend to do it digitally, because it just works better. If somebody needs changes, like if it's like somebody commissioned me to do a painting, then that's different. But if someone was like, oh, we want this illustration, like I'm more keen to do it digitally than I am to do it physically, just because I know that I can make reparations if they want last minute changes. You know what I'm saying? So there's this song that's stuck in my head. My brother, got me hooked on this song. It's called Jackie Onassis. It's by this singer Sammy Ray. She's really good, and it's such a good song. And I want to play it, and I always forget that I can't listen to music when I'm doing this, because most of the time when I do art, I am tuned in, dude. I am like listening to music and I can't hear a freaking thing most of the time. So it is funny. I've talked about this a couple times, where it's like difficult to talk and draw at the same time. Painting, not so much. I feel like, well, if I'm doing like really intricate stuff, then yes, but like this, it's very like free flow, so I'm not like too hyper focused on it, and I can speak out loud at the same time. Whereas if I'm like drawing a really specific line, I do need to be focused. And specifically, if I'm doing this like live to Govs, like I don't mind like pausing for a second if I need to do something. But when I'm recording like a regular punk rap episode, it goes on Spotify afterwards, and if I pause for a while, I like feel really weird and I have to go edit it out, and I don't want to do that, because editing does take, I'd rather just have it be straight from the audio and not have to like go back and like edit a ton, because I hate it. Truthfully, it's not even laziness, it's just like, oh my god, I don't want to go back and do that. So now I'm painting a little bit more. And I also like to paint in natural lighting, because I think that it is better to gauge what it's going to look like in natural lighting than it is in artificial lighting. So it's great to do on the weekends, because I work full-time during the day, but I don't work full-time on the weekends, so I can do this on like a Saturday afternoon. Light's perfect, I can see everything. And it's very true. When I was in art school, there was a time that I was doing something, and somebody in my class was doing something, and they were like, my teacher called us out. It's called one of us out, and was like, did you guys do this in your dorm lighting? And they were like, yeah, why? And he was like, oh, because your color palette is off, because you were doing it in like really shitty lighting. And like, he's been a teacher here for forever, so he was like, I know like what color the dorm lighting is, so I can tell you that you did this in the dorm. And he was like, you need to go and do this in a studio, because otherwise it's gonna look like trash. And I was like, wow, look at you, man, that was mean, but at the same time, like, you were right. So that's whack. This, the letters from underneath are not going away. Oh my god. This candle might have to not be white. That was so much. The white just like keeps coming out every time that I use it. Too much. But I think I'm going to need it because I've been putting on layer after layer of this stuff and it will not cover the marker coming through on the other side. So I put gesso on this before I started painting, which in hindsight was a really dumbass idea. I don't know why I did that. Gesso is like a primer for paint, and it should have been a fine idea, but it was not. Because gesso prepares, it's like putting on primer before you paint or put on makeup, so that like the colors come out correctly. And it should have been a fine idea, and it wasn't, which is unfortunate. Yeah, literally I'm watching it fade right now. It's white paint. Let it go through. Maybe I have to paint it black and then paint white over that. We'll find out. You can't win everything. Okay. So now I'm going to do my second round of color. But, I don't know what the hell I was talking about. If you're watching, give yourself a little shout out. I can never tell who's watching this. Maybe I just don't know how you do that. But there's this lovely little person named Toss. I don't know how you pronounce their name. But they come on sometimes on the Saturday ones and they like call people out. They're like, "Hey, whoever." And I'm like, I don't know how you see who's watching this. Maybe I'm just dumb to that. I don't use Facebook like ever. I also forget that this is live on like Govs. So you can be watching it there. I think you can make comments on there. I don't even. I don't know. Can you? Maybe you can. I don't know that you can. Yo, I forgot how crazy my ear looks. I just put in, so I have like, yo, that's everything I've ever wanted now that I'm looking at the screen. I have wanted my ear to look like it looks for years. Like this one, I have wanted a ridiculous amount, like a piercings all up and down my whole ear. And up close, I hate it because they're all not even. Like they're very not even. Because I had different people pierce them at different times, and the last 3 that I got were like the 3 middle ones. I was like, make them even, and she absolutely did not. Which is unfortunate to say the least, but I was like, oh, they're gonna look like shit now. And now that I'm looking at it, like online, I'm like, it looks good. I like how it looks. Who's to say I'll keep it forever? I thought about actually, because they do cause me a lot of issues. If you're not into piercings, I'm sorry, but we're going to talk about this for 2 seconds. They do cause me a lot of issues. And why do I deal with that kind of pain if I could just take them out? Your guess is as good as mine. Beauty is pain. I don't know. I don't really do anything else that's like painful. Like I know people get like their eyebrows waxed and shit. I don't do that. So I guess this is just my form of masochism. But I just love how they look. So, but I have like a lot of issues with them. And so I thought to myself, maybe I just like get them tattooed on. Like once this is all over, take them out, let the little wounds heal, and then just like get them tattooed on. I'm highly considering that because it would look the same. Why do I need metal in my ears? I think my 2 favorite piercings, I'll say 4 favorite piercings, are my regular lobes and then my nose and my septum. My nostril and my septum are my favorites. And to anyone who has kids or who is a kid, I don't know who's watching. If you want to get a piercing and you don't want to get one that's going to like ruin your life, get a septum piercing. Why, you may ask? Because guess what? You can hide it. You see that? Just went away. Boom. The thing is, if I ever have children, which I don't plan on doing so, but if I did, I would, and my child wanted a piercing, I would recommend this piercing because the thing is, if you don't like it, you take it out. First of all, no one looks bad with a septum. Let's start there. Second of all, There are a lot of jewelries that are a lot more, like, concealable. Like, you could put a solid ring, like my nose ring is, in this, and it's a little less, like, obvious than the two balls, but it's not, you can't put it up. Whereas if you are wearing a horseshoe, like I'm wearing right now, you can just flip this thing right up. So many people did not even know that I had this for the first however long I had it, because no one saw it. Like, I healed it. When you heal it, you're supposed to heal it either up or down, and you cannot see. Like, if I go like this, you literally can't see it in my nose. So maybe I'm wrong, you can see it, but, like, you know, it's a lot better. Like, it won't scar. What are you going to scar? The inside of your nose? No. So I highly recommend to anyone who kind of wants to get into piercings, get that. Because if you hate it, first of all, it's only going to cost you like $25. Second, if you hate it, take that shit out. No biggie. No harm, no foul. I've never seen somebody with a septum and been like, you shouldn't have gotten that piercing. I've always been like, that looks amazing on you. Something to consider. I love seeing, like, people's grandmas have, like, nose piercings. I'm like, yes, that's what my generation's gonna look like. I think generations has been on my mind a lot as of recently because of the news and because of, like, the fact that millennials tended to be, like, my mom asked recently, like, why do people kind of hyperfixate on generations now as opposed to, like, individuals? And I was like, well, the thing is, because everyone started calling millennials, oh, you young folk, you millennials. Here's the thing. Millennials are not young anymore. Millennials are in their 40s to their early 20s. I am technically not a millennial. I'm born in 97, like early 97. So I am, like, the last possible millennial. I'm right at the crux, the in-between of, so not crux, just the in-between of millennial and Gen Z. But I think that the biggest reason that people started kind of talking about generations is because generations were only coined, I think the first one that people actually coined was, like, the beginning of the 1900s, because it was the greatest generation, then the silent generation, then the boomers, the Xers, the millennials, and the Gen Zers, and now we have Generation Alpha, and I don't remember what's next. But Generation Alpha is 2014 on, which is bonkers to me that kids exist that are that old. Oh, that's a good one. But I think that, you know, when people kind of started being like, oh, you millennials, blah, 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 then the millennials were like, screw this, and started calling people what they were, the boomers, the Xers, etc., etc. And people use, like, you know, okay, boomer is like an insult now. I'm like, it's not an insult, it's literally just what you are. Like, you are a baby boomer. I am a millennial, or Gen Z, or whatever you want to say. It's a weird noise. It's just true. Like, that's just what I am and the generation I was born into. But I think a lot of focus comes on generations now, because of the fact that, like, I lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. I think a lot of focus comes on generations because they tend to be a lot more, like, prevalent now, and, like, people, again, did coin the phrases for millennials and kind of, like, shat on them for, like, being the way that they were. And I'm like, well, here's the thing, boomers, you raised the millennials. What did you want from them? You did that. If you don't like the way they were, then you shouldn't have raised them like that. But I think any generation raises their kids in a specific way, and that kid is going to take it in whatever way they want to, because that's just the way that the world works. You know, the boomers didn't take everything from the silent generation, otherwise we wouldn't be in the predicaments we are in today. But, and this isn't me shitting on any one generation, there's issues in every single one of them, either financially or emotionally. But, you know, it is interesting that people do group people just based on times of when they were born, because people are so different within that, and it's only, you know, generations in America, right? This doesn't apply to other places, because it's to do with, like, American economy and, like, time and, like, what was happening in the world at that point in time, or happening, like, to America at that point in time, like our involvement with wars, and like our financial stability and like housing markets and job markets and, you know, again, the economy. So what the hell is that noise? I think there's a car, like a truck out front. But you know, it is interesting that we do group people like that, but it makes sense. I get it. Like, Generation Z is defined by their incredible use of technology. No person born in Gen Z was not grown up with at least a little bit of modern technology. And theoretically, technology is just something that you use to make your life better that you didn't originally have. This is technology. A paintbrush is technology. A pen is technology. Because the thing is, back in the day, when people were using feathers to write, the most, high advanced technology was a fountain pen, like back in the day, And that's going to be the case as I grow older, too. Things are going to come about, and I'm going to be like, whoa, crazy. And I hope that as time progresses, with a generation that had so many new advancements in technology, I hope that we're one to kind of understand and continue to understand a lot of things that are invented. And the thing that I think I found most ironic about the fact that, like, old people are written off as not being able to use technology is the fact that, like, okay, but who created it? The toddlers weren't creating it. You guys created it. So who... I know that it was, like, inventors and, like, engineers and stuff like that, but, like, people your age created it. It always shocks me when people, who are a little bit older than me, really know how to use technology, because I'm like, oh, crazy. You didn't grow up with it, so it is, like, it's harder to learn when you get older. Not that specifically. Things in general are more difficult to learn as you get older, just because you've already learned your thing. I know that, learning how to use, like, certain things as I've gotten older, and I'm only 23, have been more difficult than knowing what I already know. And that's fine. That's just the way that it is. Everyone has a learning curve, and it's also individual, not even age-wise. I know that, like, there are some people my age who really don't like technology, and not even don't like it, but just can't use it. There's this friend of mine from college who was a painting major, so she didn't have to use the computer for her work. She could not even, like, type out an email, and I was like, wow. Props to you for getting this far, because I really don't know how you did. Because even if I didn't work in my major, I feel like you'd still have to work in my major. I feel like if I wasn't in my major, which was mainly computer-based, I feel like I'd still need to use computers to get by. And she just riding by on asking other people to help her and stuff. She's a lot better now, but she didn't even know how to, like, answer her own text and stuff. I was like, oh my god, you kill me. And, if it's not innate to you, so the thing is, unfortunately, everyone has things that come more naturally to them than other things. And if one of those things, like, for instance, I can't kick a soccer ball really well, but I can navigate a computer really well. Well enough. Whereas, maybe that's just not the thing that comes innate to you. And that's hard, because it's something that you do need to use on a daily basis. It's like cooking. Everyone should know how to cook. Everyone needs to know how to cook, because how the frick are you supposed to take care of yourself if you can't even feed yourself? But unfortunately, it just doesn't come naturally to some people. And sometimes you were never taught. That's a huge thing too. Like, my mom helped me learn how to cook, but at the same time, I also taught myself a lot, because I went vegetarian when I was really young. So I had to know how to cook for myself, because if I didn't, I wasn't going to eat. Or I wasn't going to eat, like, what I would have preferred to eat. Do you know what I mean? So, you learn and you make adaptations for things that you would like to do. Just what people actually care to do. You know what I mean? So, we got the second coat on the background now. That's good. Where the heck is my other paintbrush? Okay. So, I'm just doing another white coat on this freaking candle. I don't know that this is ever going to not show through. I might have to paint it a different color and go over it. I don't know why this freaking paint really wants to show through. I mean, this marker really wants to show through this paint. I'm, like, really layering it on thick, and it is not holding up. hope you guys like my profile, because you've been seeing a lot of it today. Okay. We'll see if that doesn't come through. I might get cut off at 3. I don't know how long my thing is for today. But this is, I don't want to pick it up, but this is what it looks like now. Let me repaint over the words again. So they're a little paler than I would like. It's probably going to need another coat after this too. This paint gets really bumpy too, which I'm not a fan of. But again, oh well. It's very nice out today. But it's also very hot. Sorry, I'm trying to get these lines right. Got to focus. I keep forgetting that it's summer. Every time that I step outside and it's hot, I'm like, what the because the time really flew because of quarantine. The fact that June is almost over is absolutely the biggest trip of my life. I cannot believe that that is the truth. Oh, that looks better. Then maybe I should just do that. I can't wait, because right now it's looking okay, but the second that I add like the light, it's gonna look really good, and I know that for a fact. I just like have to get there, because if I don't let it dry, it's gonna blend, and I want to be able to paint over what I've already done. So when you want to paint light colors on top of what's already dark colors, you paint a layer of white over top of the dark color so that your light color will actually come through. Otherwise, you will not be able to see it. Which makes sense. Like if you were to put like a yellow on top of a black, that is not going to show up. But if you put white on top of black, that's going to show up, because white is like all powerful for paint. And that's going to show up, and then once that dries, what the fuck happened to my voice? Once that dries, then you can color the color you want over it. Okay, the white is getting better and better for the layer. So I'm gonna hope after maybe like another 2 layers it stops doing this. So now that we're here, let's get that off that. I think this is where I call it for the day. So we're almost at 3 and I don't want to run over time. But thanks for the